The reason I want to talk about money in particular, right, is because I think that a lot of us still have white knight syndrome. We still think that someone else is going to come along and rescue us financially. It's going to be a spouse. It's going to be, a family member. It's going to be something, or, we just put it off and we don't think about it.
Lawsome, the podcast for law firms. Powered by Consultwebs.
Welcome back to Lawsome, the only podcast for law firms that has been secretly bottling its own salad dressing. It's just
it
so
sounded even funnier out loud.
Oh God, it sounded great. Okay. Oh my God. I can't believe we're out. I can't believe we told everybody. Okay. We're here to inform, educate, and entertain the legal community on the latest in legal marketing and law firm development. I am Jake Sanders. He is Paul Julius. Paul, what's the first thing you're going to do with your cut of the salad dressing when we get out of this?
Oh, man. Red Lobster and lottery tickets.
You're just going to take your own salad dressing there?
I mean, secretly, yeah. Wouldn't you?
No,
am I not supposed to? What do you do?
I feel, well, I've had a concealed carry license for dressing for a couple years.
Had to qualify.
I'm proud carrier of my own secret dressing wherever I go. All right, well, let's be at liberty and tell everybody what's coming up on the show today.
Right on. On the show today, we're talking about leadership, gender, and the practice of law. First, an article from JD Supra, and then we chat with Davina Frederick of D. Frederick Media and the Wealthy Woman Lawyer podcast. And as usual, we push the limits of condiment definition with 5 questions we ask everyone.
Pull up a plate. It's the Hot Takes Buffet.
The article today is from jdsupra.com. It's by Jill Hughes. It's entitled 4 Business Development Truths for Women Lawyers. Davina's on the show today, host of the Wealthy Woman Lawyer podcast. Has been doing consulting work with professionals for a number of years and now is switching into this Wealthy Woman Lawyer dynasty, specifically focused on women business owners and, helping them kind of get this, get the rope around this calf of business. So Jill is a coach herself, writing for JD Supra. She says that there's 4 of these business development truths. And the first one, well, you're never going to believe it. There are gender differences in business development.
Stunning.
Well, and plus, me and Paul were going back and forth before we did this. Is this right for us to talk about? We're 2 dudes. But I think as, part of the hegemony and the things that hold folks back, which are old white dudes, speaking on behalf of them. This is stuff that you need to appreciate. This first paragraph right here is amazing when she's talking about the gender differences in business development. We've covered it on our show. I kept asking, why are women so much more savvy with marketing? Why are they so much better at building relationships? Which is that next level of marketing everybody talks about. A lot of people just want sales, but there's something about men when they approach a transaction that they're looking to close things. And women sort of approach relationships with this idea that there's an intrinsic value in the idea of the relationship itself. So it's like, I thought that was really cool. And I was like, you know what? That's right. And we shouldn't shy away from these things. We should embrace these things. I don't know. I mean, that was the first one. I enjoyed this. There's 3 more, business development truths. But I really appreciated this article and I appreciate this difference. And I think there are people that are giving good advice like Davina, like Jill right here, for women specifically to help them sort of, gather themselves up enough of that courage that just seems to be resplendent with men, idiot men, who just are so brave and foolish I think it's cool that there's people out there that are specifically focusing on women lawyers and helping them be strong, because seems like they are better at making relationships last, which is sort of what a business is anyway. So my take is, I love it. What's your take here?
So I'm right with you. I think we have kind of the same take.
Right.
I do want to say I really did appreciate the conversation we had before. It's weird, you get into these generalizations, and even this article does a little bit too. And I don't know that there's a way to get away from it. There's always, men do this, women do that. Not all the time, obviously. Particularly as lawyers, I'm sure you understand there's more gray areas, but you have to start with some kind of for us, we look at this from the marketing angle, and we have these personas, we have these demographics and these different kind of buckets that things fit into, and gender is one of them. I mean, that's just how it is. We're looking at behaviors, we're looking at data. So I guess, when I look at it that way, it makes a little more sense to me than to look at it as kind of two tribes that sometimes overlap. But the one quote I absolutely loved out of this was under number 3, and you already touched on it. It says, women lawyers generally focus on service and client experience more than just the resulting outcome, and that mindset leads to greater client loyalty. And this is something that, as marketers, we tell people all the time. The experience, everything you do, that is a part of your marketing, if not your marketing itself. So this article is really saying right here, it says, number 3, you already possess the skills necessary to become capable at selling, maybe even better than most. So that was my take.
Yeah. Yeah. And the last tip that she has, which is just do one thing right now.
Yeah,
I think that's good advice, because that's what doesn't happen. There are a billion books out here telling you how to run a business, whether you're a man or a woman. There's a trillion books and memes and inspirational art cards and, coaches and consultants and boot camps and seminars and webinars and videonars. And I mean, there's countless reams of steps for you to take. It's just very rare that people take them, regardless of who you are. But it really is. And that's another takeaway that we usually have on these articles. Like, it's just so overwhelming. But there's something more structural here, that you can do one thing and you start small. And that's where you start seeing the benefits. And the future belongs to people who are acting to create the longer lasting relationships that can turn into opportunities, rather than seeing the opportunity first and then being like, oh, do you want to start a relationship? I mean, it seems really easy and obvious, but it isn't obvious to a lot of business owners who are faced with that chaos. What am I supposed to be doing?
Yeah. Well, it's more than just a transaction, it's more than just a deal,
right.
Or a task, or a project. That's people. Lately I've been so into what's the story? What's the story? Of the business?
Everybody loves that. Yeah,
that's in a sense that's what people want. They want to have a relationship. It's relationships, really, is what it is. Like,
that is all it is.
I want to know that I was taken care of by this, and they cared.
And especially now with all of the ups and downs, in this economy, I mean, which is mostly downs, all you have is this experience. All you have are these relationships. A lot of this talk is just shown as talk. Really, action is where we're at. And good articles like this, helping women lawyers and, law firm owners of all types get a better understanding on how to take advantage of this. And then coming up, Davina talks specifically after her years of experience talking with professionals of all types across the industries, how women lawyers can, take advantage, of, a lot of this stuff that's on the table, this business development truths, that are here, that Jill's talking about, Davina talks about, and we talk about. And that's a bit of what's inside this secret salad dressing that we've been bottling.
Can't tell you everything.
Can't tell you everything. A little bit of paprika. Yeah, sure. You know, a little celery salt. Okay, no. Anyway, coming up, an interview that you're going to love. It's tangy, it's delicious, it's nutritious, and it's lawsome.
Lawson continues. But first, a word from our sponsor.
The internet can be a cold and unforgiving place. Every day, thousands of law firm websites go unvisited and unfairly labeled as worthless due to the inattention or misguided attempts at do-it-yourself marketing by their owners. Poor optimization and bad design principles have left these sites unable to realize the full potential of the digital landscape they're forced to exist in, and they're now trapped on page 3 of the search results in an endless cycle of bad management, leading to poor results, leading to disillusionment and loss. There's hope for these neglected websites in the form of a digital marketing company focused exclusively on law firms. Since 1999, Consultwebs has helped hundreds of lawyers connect to thousands of clients across the country using sound marketing principles based off an exhaustive track record of marketing campaigns that have already proven to be successful. If your website is underperforming, call Consultwebs at 800-872-6590 and get the clicks it so desperately needs. Please don't let another day full of unvisited pages go by. Take that step and call today for them.
And now, for a lawsome interview.
Davina Frederick Esquire is a Florida licensed attorney, business growth strategist, and marketing consultant who, through her company, D. Frederick Media and Marketing, works with legal, medical, and health professionals, coaches, agents, and consultants to help them transform from solos to CEOs of their own thriving, high-revenue generating firms. Davina, welcome to Lawsome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
So tell us a bit about the origins of your marketing agency and solo to CEO. Where did this idea and company come from?
Well, I'm glad that you asked me this question because it lets me know that I have rebranded last year. And so some of the my former brand is still out there floating around, and I'll get into kind of explain that transition. But I no longer really use solo to CEO, and I started with this business about 7 years ago, and at the time I was working with entrepreneurs, and it kind of went down pretty quickly to women entrepreneurs because I'm really passionate about helping women create their own resources and become financially independent through business ownership. And so I did that for a while, and then I found that a lot of women attorneys, my clients were more and more becoming women attorneys, women law firm owners. While I had other clients and other businesses, women law firm owners really gravitated to me because, in addition to my 25 years experience, that tells you how old I am, as a professional services marketer, I've been an attorney. I've been an attorney since 2007, and I started out and grew my own law practice right out of law school. And so a lot of women law firm owners really, they wanted to get help from someone who had been there and done that. And so in last year, after much thought about it, because I think a lot of people kind of have fear around niching down, and I know I did, but it just made a lot of sense for me to really focus on this women law firm owner niche, as opposed to, I'd worked with clients who started med spas, and I worked with creatives, and I just had a real mix of clients. But law firm owners require, lawyers' businesses are different. And so I rebranded really to speak to more clearly to that audience. And so Solo to CEO was the name that I gave my podcast when I started it in 2018. And then this year, it's been renamed the Wealthy Woman Lawyer Podcast. And I have a new business entity, Wealthy Woman Lawyer, but I still have D. Frederick Media and Marketing up because I have contracts under that. And it's really kind of the parent company of some of the things that I'm doing. So right now it's a little crossover. So when people are searching for me, they're finding different things. They're finding the Wealthy Woman Lawyer website. They're finding the Dee Frederick Media website. So it's a little messy, but I embrace change and all of its messiness all the time. I'm always pushing the envelope and trying to do something different. So now though it's very focused on Wealthy Woman Lawyer. I've created the entity around it, and what I'm really doing is helping women law firm owners to envision something larger for themselves, because I don't know if you're familiar with it, but there's the ABA recently published a report called Walking Out the Door, and it is about women partners who get to their 50s and when they really should be enjoying the benefits and the fruits of their labor, they're leaving law firms in droves because they don't feel like supported by the culture, and a lot of women law firm owners I've spoken with who are younger, who've started their own law firms, or maybe older and they've left and gone out and started their own law firms. They tell me that the reason why is because they want more flexibility and they want more time with their family. And then, they also want to travel a lot, and they want the retirement accounts, and they want expensive private educations for their kids and luxury items and, all the fun things that we all want, like, retirement and healthcare, those things. And of course, that's expensive, that's expensive. It costs money, right? So what I found is a lot of women law firm owners go out and they start their practice, and they really they struggle to grow their own big law firm. They kind of get stuck in sort of replacing their income. So they create a job for themselves and maybe a couple of other people, but, they're not really reaching for, hey, can I have that multi-million-dollar wealth generating law firm that provides me all of these things, plus still gives me the flexibility and the time with my family? Can I do march to the beat of my own drummer, and can I have it all, right? And so it is my position that yes, you can have it all, and in fact, life will be easier for you once you have created that $1 million revenue generating firm, that multi-million-dollar firm, because then you'll really be able to have the team support that you need. Right.
So let me unpack this too, because it's interesting because you've rebranded and you say, well, it's not solo CEO, it's Wealthy Woman Lawyer. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting to say that women can be CEOs, and they were once solos too. You must have learned a lot of things that you're bringing to this specific audience. I think maybe a lot of people are concerned about niching down, but I think it's a smart move. Speak to the fact that maybe there's a cultural barrier where women can't see themselves as CEOs, and that may have, spurred you on to maybe change that stat. I think it'd be interesting because, do you speak to that, or am I on to something there? Or am I just...
You definitely are, and it's something that we really don't talk about, and women don't really talk about it. I know there's been a number of law review articles out lately put together by women, and with some very powerful language in it that, like, motherhood as misogyny. I mean, that was the title of one of them, right? And I think that, and of course, mothers everywhere are going, oh my God, how can that be, right? But I think the point is that culturally, women, and personally, a lot of women, once they start having children, they put family first and they put the children first, and often they put themselves last. I mean, they're putting the family, the clients, the community, everybody else first, right? Yeah. And the reason I want to talk about money in particular, right, is because I think that a lot of us still have white knight syndrome. We still think that someone else is going to come along and rescue us financially. It's going to be a spouse. It's going to be, a family member. It's going to be something or, you know, we just put it off and we don't think about it.
You know, I call that the MacGyver. I also call it MacGyver. I think guys are waiting for MacGyver to show up. Like that's their white knight. Like, oh man, he got beautiful hair and he figured out at the last minute how to solve our problems.
Exactly. So I'm trying to just sort of, you know, shine a light on a bigger vision. And also, you know, I am in my 50s now, and I work with a lot of women who are in their 30s and 40s. And, you know, when you're kind of on the other side of the halfway mark, you start really looking at things differently, and you think, and you look back at your own mistakes and the mistakes of friends that have made financially, usually through relationships, you know, and it's all kind of this dependency on, we get married and we just think that, oh, you know, he's going to know more about money or finances than I do. And you're like, why? I mean, you look back and you go, why? Why is a guy going to know more about money or finance? It doesn't come, you know, with the testosterone.
Right. Well, and it only shows itself when you have the discussion when the money's in trouble. I mean, maybe, you know, and you're like, now we're having this conversation. But
that actually happened to me. That very scenario. Because my husband had a very successful business when we married. And in that first recession, that 2008 recession rolled around, it really impacted his business, and it caused us grave financial problems. And I told, you know, people, I said, you know what? I cannot complain, because the whole time I just let him handle everything, and I rode the good wave and the good ride. So how could I possibly complain when it all fell apart, right? How could I couldn't complain about that, because I hadn't been doing the brain work and my part for taking care of our finances. I kind of just, because he was making a lot more money than I was, I kind of just let him handle the money, you know? And I'm a feminist. I mean, I'm like I'm a diehard, you know, I've had people call me feminazi. I'm like really independent, highly educated. And that's what I say to women law firm owners. You are some of the most educated, intelligent people. And so if not you, who, you know? So that's what I'm encouraging them to do, is say, why don't you just take responsibility for your retirement, and you take responsibility for this, you know, and working, hopefully you have a partner, a spouse, you know, whatever kind of relationship you're in, and it makes it better and easier, and you both get along and can talk about money. Although I find in marriage, it's a challenge always.
Oh boy.
But, you know, so no matter what happens, no matter, having been a divorce attorney too, I've seen relationships go wrong, and we all start out thinking, oh, this is going to last forever and it's going to be great. It's sunshine and roses. And, you know.
Yeah, we're marketers. We know what that's like. You know, when you get into bed with a new advertising campaign, you're like, this is going to be great, right?
Oh, I know. We're all in love at the beginning.
Oh, boy, the leads are going to come in. I hope you guys like leads.
Well, that's, you know, so talking about the beginning, we've talked about this a lot. We've had a lot of women solos, smaller firm owners, a lot of, you know, CEOs, CMOs are all women, and they all talk about the same kind of thing of this kind of exit. And the one statistic we found, I'll have to put it in the show notes later, but I think it was 5 years seems to be about the cutoff. And we were talking with, I believe it was Sarah Schaff from Headnote, who was saying that, you know, that's where, you know, people start to look at, well, am I going to be starting a family, you know, stuff like that. Those are considerations, you know, to be taken in there. But there's one that we found that I think is kind of brutal. It says, and this is from the ABA, but it says statistics show that although women enter the profession in equal numbers to men, a process of attrition occurs so that they make up just 23% of partners and 19% of equity partners. That's rough. That's, I mean, that is unbelievably disproportionate. You know, what would it be even better to just say, look, forget that? Like, don't just go start your own firm and build your own thing because you're going to hit the ceiling, or should we fight through this ceiling? Is there, you know, or is it even worth it? Like, why are these, who's holding the doors closed? that's only letting 23% through.
And that culture fit too, that, that culture fit that you said too was interesting too. It's like, well, I don't want to golf with you,
right.
old men.
So first of all, your statistic too, when I was studying the ABA's report, I mean, there's all kinds of really startling statistics in there. But one of the things that really struck me is they couldn't even measure women of color because there weren't enough.
Right. Yeah. I remember that.
Right.
Yeah.
So even more so, there's that barrier to minorities and women, right? And we know who's holding it. Anytime you have people in power that they want to hold on to their power and they don't want to include other people or whatever. And also there's kind of a lack of understanding of what that means. I mean, you mentioned golf. I mean, it goes even beyond that to things like, first of all, there is a societal demand on women to be there for the children more and to be there for the spouse more, right? So those kinds of things, that's pressure on the women, pressure women put on themselves, pressure other women put on them, pressure men put on them. I mean, that's just kind of how our culture is set up. So as far as, so should we just all go start our own firm or should we break the glass ceiling? I think that's an individual decision to make. What approach do you want to take? Because, I do know that there are women who have successfully risen through the ranks in firms and become partners, maybe not named partners, but there's a whole lot of aspect to the culture that doesn't support women. And then also, for my banner, the banner I've chosen to carry is I'm advocating for women to create their own big law firms because, you have at some point, you had a couple of guys who were friends who started a law firm and grew it. And then over time, it's become big law, right? Big law. Why are women not doing this? And I think now we see a generation where it could happen. But I think someone has to hold the space for them to say, you can create your own big law firm. You can have a firm that employs hundreds of people, right? And most women they're not thinking about that. They're thinking, I just want to make some money and pay my bills and support myself and be there for my family. And, and there are some, I say most women, there are some women who may have bigger, grander visions, right? Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of them start businesses in other areas because they find it easier than to do it in the law. Mm. And I'm just saying, I'm going to hold a space for you if you have a vision for something different. I remember being told by different people in different ways when I started my law firm, and I would do things like I went virtual way before virtual was cool. I mean, just different choices I made, and I would have people tell me, you can't do it that way. Your clients aren't going to like that. People aren't going to like that. And quite frankly, the people who told me that were what I call the white men over 50 club. Mm-hmm. Of course, now that I'm in my 50s, I call it the white men over 60 club. But,
it's just going to keep going.
Right? Yeah. And not to say that listen, I love guys. I love white men. I love,
we like men. White guys.
Right? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying culturally, this is how we're set up, right?
Sure.
So this is kind of where I've chosen to plant my flag.
I
think there are other people who will plant their flag, and then we can work from within to make changes, right?
Right. Well, and then just establishing your own thing, but having the vision and having those leadership qualities cultivated in women for women, I think is brilliant. But with all of your experience advising law firm leaders and also healthcare professionals, let's keep it a little bit more contemporary. This global healthcare crisis, that sort of disrupted a lot of the ability for people to maybe enact some of that vision, some of that leadership, some of that, let's go out, strike out. What's your advice here for law firm managers and leaders, within the legal community? I mean, what should they be focusing on right now?
Well, I actually kind of have a different view. I really think now is the time to demonstrate leadership. And that is my recommendation. That's what I've been recommending to my community, is that now is the time to position yourself as a leader through adversity, because that's what people need it most. They need, when people are caught up in their emotions and their fears and their anxieties, and they don't know what's going to happen. They don't know what's going to happen to them, to their businesses, to their families. Now is the time. And here's the beautiful thing about it for attorneys, is that we are naturally leaders in our community. People come to attorneys when they have some of life's most serious problems, right? And we are in the business of resolving chaos, putting chaos in order. We're the business of taking something that is chaotic and messy and saying, okay, how do we sort this out and find a way and solve the problem? There is no, well, we can't solve this problem. We're gonna help clients resolve whatever their issues that they're coming to us with, right? And so leaders are attorneys are naturally positioned for leadership, and now it's our time really to step up and demonstrate leadership. And I think the way that we do that is through, we can't go out to speak in person right now, but what we can do, what's wonderful about this, is that we have so many ways that we can control the narrative right now, by creating content, creating videos, writing blogs, leading. One of the things that I've seen and I've been a proponent of is having like group Zoom calls with people, with your connections, with your relationships, having those Zoom happy hours. I mean, finding ways to connect with one another. And then if you're really wanting to serve your community, look at those past clients that are sitting there. You've got a database full of past clients. You have current clients. Are you reaching out to them? Are you saying, what do you need right now? What can I do? How can I help you? How can I service you? Who can I connect you with? Are you okay? What's going on, right? So there's all kinds of ways that we can show our leadership, and it really is through service.
Wow. What? Come on. What's going on? I'm not going to hire you. So it's pivoting towards that marketing. It's you're hitting something that's really interesting that we're starting to see. Marketers are wondering, how do I behave? How do I communicate during this pandemic? And what you just outlined was essentially what marketing should be anyway, is connecting with your community and people that are in your connected networks, your marketplace, and just trying to provide value. I mean, it seems like there's opportunities that show up. A lot of law firms are like, should we get on TikTok? Should we do video? Should you do a podcast? Should you, do a blog? Should you do Zoom? There's all these options. How do you narrow it down? Like what do you think is overhyped? And what do you think is essential here for marketers? I mean, because what you gave is great, be useful. Now, how do they apply that?
Well, I tell you the first thing, and that I would do is with my clients, I always start out with, first of all, just taking everything and throwing it on a piece of paper, right? And just starting out with, what are all the different things we could do? And then really backing it up. And let's be more strategic about our approach, because every tactic is not going to be for every attorney, every business, every client. It's not going to, your audience may be different from my audience, right? And so I never start on the tactical level. In fact, the reason I started doing the coaching work that I do is because when I first started this business, I went back to my marketing roots, and I was really doing a lot of implementation for my clients.
Yes.
And I found that so many of them didn't have any reason for doing what they were doing. They didn't have any concrete reason for doing it. And I would ask them questions about, well, what are you trying to accomplish here? Who are you trying to connect with? What message are you trying to get out? And I found that they didn't know. They were just that, well, somebody said I needed to update my website, so I'm updating my website. Somebody said I need a Facebook page, so I'm doing a Facebook page, right? And so the first thing we have to do is the thing that lawyers are so good at doing for our clients, but we're not good at doing for our businesses. And that is thinking, like sitting and really strategically thinking about what you're trying to accomplish.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's so amazing. We wrote a musical about marketing, and it was called ROI the Musical. And the main takeaway is, why are you marketing? You need to know why. And it's so interesting that you worked on implementation, because me and Paul go off about adoption. You have a lot of legal tech people. Oh, I have the perfect billing solution. Okay. Why does it take them 6 months to work it at the law firm? What are they doing? Why? And we're testing a new case management system. We've been in beta for 2 years. What? Why is it taking 2 years? So implementation is interesting. I feel sort of sorry for you too, because sales is done. Marketing is done. They have the money. They're walking to the bank. And now the client is sitting here with, whatever they've purchased, which is a campaign or something that they're going to work on. And they don't know why they have it.
Right.
What?
Right. I mean, think about that. Would you ever see, as an attorney, I look at it, I go, okay, you never would develop a strategy for your case if first you didn't sit down and think, what outcome do I want? What does my client need? Who is my client? What is my client about? I'm going to have to get in court, tell their story or whatever. What outcome do I want? And then you have a theme.
And it's not just innocent or guilty. It's something more than that. It's like, I just want them off, or I just want money. No. It's something else.
And each client is different. Each client has different needs. So who are your clients? What clients do you work with? So that's the place I would start.
Everyone is cool on just closing the deal. And to Paul's point earlier about all the amazing women entrepreneurs and lawyers and CEOs that we've had on this show, they have this why really locked down. And maybe you've had a chance to work your why through your podcast. Speak on podcasting for a minute to folks out here, because a lot of law firms are wondering, should they start a podcast? What's your advice here?
Well, my answer to that is really kind of similar to what I just said, is that, and I've had clients who said who've asked me, should I start a podcast? And I've told them, well, no, where you are right now, I don't think that's the right solution for you. I think that there's so many factors to doing any sort of marketing tactic that you have to consider. So you have to consider a lot of what I do with my clients, because I work with small firms that want to get over that $1 million, not startups, but ones who are, kind of halfway to their goal and they want to get over that $1 million mark. So I'm really working one-on-one with the CEO, right? And so I look a lot at their personality, and also we're looking at their target market, who are your clients, and it's not everyone like you think it is. And we look at what their geographic location, all kinds of factors, right? And then once we look at that, we say, okay, what is the medium then that you're going to get how are you going to get your message out there? There's content marketing, there's paid advertising. I mean, there's traditional marketing techniques, right? What's your budget? I mean, how are you going to get it out? So we look at all of these factors before we make a decision. And sometimes a podcast makes sense, right? If you've got the right personality for it, if your prospective clients and audience and community would listen to podcasts, it makes a lot of sense. And it's fun, so I think you have to really enjoy it and enjoy the fun of it. If you're looking at it and say, gosh, this is just a lot of work and, I just don't want to add anything else to my plate. Well, you're in a different place for that, right?
Right.
So, and I think podcasting really, above and beyond the audience, is about the relationships you make with people, maybe that you interview or you connect with through the course of your podcast. A lot of people don't think about that. They're focused on growing that audience. Well, yeah, if you're looking to create an independent podcast and you want to get advertising and make your money that way, that makes a lot of sense. But if you're doing it to promote your business, start thinking about who can I interview and connect with that's going to be a great referral partner for me. It's going to be a great, relationship for me in growing my business, somebody I can learn from. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons why you would have a podcast and connect with people through your podcast. And while you're serving the audience, you're also, if you're doing it to grow your business, you can also look at a lot of other factors.
So we've covered quite a lot of ground here. And there's a lot of great advice in just about everything you said. And some of the stuff we've said, but more what you said. But what we want to know is, for our listeners, what's one piece of advice you could give them that they could use like today, right now, to start improving their law practices?
So I would say the big thing right now that I'm hearing in conversation with women law firm owners through my groups, through emails, through in-person conversations, is so many are in their heads right now. They're in their heads and they're thinking and they're worrying and hand wringing about what's going to happen. Oh my God, the phone's not ringing. For the first time ever, the phone's not ringing for a week maybe. And already they're thinking it's all over. We're going to have to look. So the first thing I'd say is get out of your own head. And the best way to do that is to really shift your focus to your clients and your community and your past clients and say, what do these people need? And start communicating with them by being a servant leader. And if they haven't read the book Giver's Gain by the founder of BNI, which is Business Network International, that's Ivan Misner, I really suggest that they read that, because one of the things, I don't know if you guys have ever been in BNI. I'm not currently in BNI, but I have been in BNI. And one of the things that's very powerful about what they teach is when we give to others, it comes back to us exponentially. And right now is a time when people are really feeling a lot of emotion and a lot of concern and worry, and they have needs. And I think that if you can reach out to people and say, hey, who can I connect you to? How can I help you? What is it that you need? And if you take that approach and you start looking around you at all the other people who are in need, it's going to get you, first of all, it's going to get you appreciating what you have. I mean, I'm a huge believer in I have a daily gratitude practice where I start every day thinking about all that I am grateful for. And when you do that, you get control. You start to choose your own thoughts instead of just letting your mind run rampant and your emotions run rampant. You choose your own thoughts, and we have the power to do that. And when we do that, it shifts everything in our business. And then once you are in that place and you're reaching out and you're asking, you're going to start getting answers. You're going to start getting people. It's going to instantly raise your credibility. And people are going to, if you're creating video content out there, people are going to know, like, and trust you before they ever even meet you. And how powerful is that? So when the doors are finally thrust open and we are all released into the sunshine, who do you think people are going to reach out to help them? So that's what I think is really the most important thing right now.
Davina, where can people find you on the internet and learn more about Wealthy Woman, the Wealthy Woman Dynasty?
So I know that a lot of people, when you Google and search me, you're going to see D. Frederick Media. You can find out a lot about me there. But I have a new website called Wealthy Woman Lawyer. Wealthy Woman Lawyer. Also have the Wealthy Woman Lawyer podcast, which you can find on on the website or wherever you like to listen to your favorite podcast. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Davina Frederick. And also, if you're a woman law firm owner and you really like some support and community, then I suggest reaching out to me through Facebook. My Facebook group, Wealthy Woman Lawyer, is very active and a really good community for women law firm owners.
5 questions we ask everyone.
What was the last book you read?
I read The Dichotomy of Leadership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. They are the authors of Extreme Ownership, which I also read. And for fiction, I'm currently listening to The Stand by Stephen King. It's all 47 hours of it. And of course, it's really probably not wise to listen to that at this time.
You're getting prepared. You're ready for it.
Right.
It's good. It's good. All right. Number 2, what's your favorite place?
Well, this is not glamorous or exciting, but it's really on my living room floor with my husband after dinner, playing with my 2 English bulldogs. I just love my 2 English bulldogs. We have one that's about 10 and we got one that's a puppy. And they just keep me mad entertained all the time.
Nice. All right. Number 3, what sites, blogs, newsletters, or podcasts do you regularly check in with?
I don't know that there are any blogs or sites that I regularly check in with. I tend to look at my feed a lot, and click on all different kinds of things. And I like to read a variety of different sources. But my favorite podcast, I listen to a lot of podcasts and I listen to a lot of legal podcasts. But my 2 favorite ones I listen to kind of regularly, one is the Successful Mind podcast by David Nagel. I'm a fan of David Nagel. I disagree with him on some things, but I love his podcast. And then Cocaine and Rhinestones by Tyler Mahan Coe. I am eagerly awaiting the 2nd season of that. Are you guys familiar with that podcast?
Sounds like a family-friendly jaunt.
I don't know how I'm not. I mean,
it is about the country music in the 20th century. And so it is really, he goes into these kind of stories. He does a lot of research. He's the son of David Allico, who's a famous country music singer and kind of an outlaw. And so Tyler really goes into these stories about these famous country people and these crazy things, that they've done in their lives, like, trying to kill someone and stuff like that. And so it's a really good Cocaine and Rhinestones. It's fun. It's fun stuff.
Nice. All right. Toughest one of the bunch. Number 4, if you were stranded on a desert island and could only pick one condiment to take with you, what would it be?
I know you guys are mustard fans, but I got to say mine would be salt. And I looked it up. It is a condiment. It's not a spice. It's a condiment.
Okay. Whoa.
But you could preserve food. I mean, I'm a fan of Naked and Afraid. I've been kind of on a Naked and Afraid kick for a little while. I didn't like it when it first came out, and then I started watching it. Now I'm obsessed. And I always think to myself, man, if you're going to catch a fish or a snake or whatever, it'd probably be much better if you had a little salt on it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's so practical, but true.
It's so true.
All right, last one, number 5. After a long day or a long week at work, how do you relax and unwind?
Well, I used to go to restaurants and apparently non-essential businesses, and I used to touch my face a lot.
I used to love that.
Right? But now I do a lot of walking and meditation, and I nap and I read, and I ain't gonna lie to you, like some of these people come on here and do. I watch Netflix, people. I watch Netflix, Hulu, whatever sort of, Apple TV, whatever kind of marathon I can get, that's what I do.
For show notes, links, and info, go to thelawsonpodcast.com or follow us on Twitter or Facebook. Be sure to leave us a review and rating in iTunes or wherever you find the you listen to. Until next week, stay Lawson.